Hello there, I'm back with my build to Civil War, and this time I'm looking at Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, the Winter Soldier is like one of the best of the Marvel films. I mean, for me it's the best one. Personally, I'm recording this just before Civil War's released, but until then this is probably my favourite of the Marvel movies up to then, because it just delivers. I mean, it's still basically a fantasy movie, but it's a superhero take in the paranoid 70s thriller. I mean, it delivers on what you want from a superhero movie. It delivers a fun paranoid spy movie, but it doesn't take itself so seriously either. I mean, it's not like The Dark Knight, which you're feeling that it's taking itself a bit too seriously. This one still has room for jokes, doesn't go into depth everything. Instead, it sets the stuff up and lets you use your imagination for the rest of it, and uses atmosphere to suggest a lot so that you can have the story, you have the plot as it develops, you can imagine the rest, and it works because it has this great balance of what's implied and what you can take away from yourself. That's what really the film really works with, and I think it's one of the more perfect Marvel movies. It just delivers exactly what I want anyway. I mean, other people prefer other films, but this one for me is the best one. I mean, it takes place after the Avengers movie, and basically Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, has joined S.H.I.E.L.D., which is the superhero task force, and they go around the world fighting, you know, people who need to be taken out. So basically, he's not a soldier for hire, but he's in this organisation who tells him where to go and what to do. And he's starting, in the beginning of the film, he's starting to feel frustrated because he's starting to wonder if there's stuff he's not been told, if he's working for someone who might not be as trustworthy as they say. There's these elements in the story that's starting to affect him. And as the story moves on, you realise he has good reasons to be suspicious, because it turns out that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been infected by Hydra, which was the enemies he was fighting in the first Captain America during World War II. Hydra was apparently destroyed at the end of Captain America. It turns out they weren't. They infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. when S.H.I.E.L.D. was built, and so over the years they've been taking over S.H.I.E.L.D. from the inside, invisible. Their presence is there, but no one can see them. And film takes place the last few days before the plan's about to kick off for world domination. Essentially, the helicarriers from the Avengers are going to be used to take down any potential enemy of Hydra. Anyone who they're going to be up in the air. The most powerful things imaginable. No one can take them down, and they will kill from the sky anybody who tries to take them down. They'll kill anybody who's a person who could be viewed as destructive to them. They're just going to fire lasers at people who have different ideologies from them, people who could be dangerous potentially in the future. So that eventually all that's left are the sheep, the people who will not fight back, and that's their plan. And the person running it is Robert Redford, the guy who was always a good guy in all these other films, the guy who was in so many 70s paranoid thrillers as a guy who was being chased down as the big villain of this one, which is a nice twist. It's fun. I mean, it's not on par with some other good guys gone bad like Henry Fonda and Once Upon a Time in the West, but it's still fun. I mean, you can tell early on that he's a bad guy. I mean, you can tell. They don't tell you he is a bad guy, but you kind of know, of course, from where he is in the story, that he's probably the villain. But it's still fun. He still seems to enjoy himself. He's a good villain, so that really works, because they actually have a good, solid villain who believes in what he's doing. He doesn't see himself as a villain. He just sees himself as someone who's doing what he thinks is right, and what he thinks is right is a Hydra. And he's got all these agents infiltrating in S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Senate, everywhere. And they're all ready to kick off. The whole thing's ready to kick off. So basically, the first battle scene is essentially rescuing someone from this ship that's been hijacked. It turns out that there's a ulterior motive that Nick Fury, played by Sam Jackson, had, was to find out about. He's getting a bit suspicious about certain things, so he wants to find out more information. And that was kind of the true purpose of the rescue. They did it rescue as well, but he wanted to know something else. And by doing that, he set off Redford to be suspicious of him. And there's an assassination attempt on Nick Fury, which leads to you thinking he's been killed. Not before he passes information on to Captain America, and Captain suddenly, you know, he's now under suspicion and essentially has to go on the run from S.H.I.E.L.D. and fight back when he can, but basically the entire US spy and government network are after Captain America. And because Black Widow, who's also in it, sided with him, she's been hunted down as well. So that's basically the plot. He gets together with Falcon, who's basically sort of friend he's made. So those three are basically against, you know, the entire spy network. And you know, it's basically a chase move from then on as they keep on trying to find out more and find out how Hydra's infiltrated the S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're getting chased down by Crossbones, who's this soldier who used to work with Captain America. So that's basically the plot, and that's a great springboard. Everything that he thought was important to him turns out to be false. His stability in the world is gone. He has to fight back and do what he thinks is right. Also making it harder for him is the Winter Soldier, who is his old friend Bucky Barnes from childhood, who has partly died, but instead of dying because he was messed around by Hydra, they found his body, it was still alive, and they turned him into Winter Soldier, which is this assassin who gets his brain wiped all the time, and he's sent out to kill people who they think are dangerous to Hydra. And whenever, after any mission, he's put back into, he's frozen again, and he's only brought out whenever they need him, so that he's still the same age as he was in the 40s, and he just looks the same. It becomes this myth, this guy called Winter Soldier. No one believes it's true. So he comes out against Steve as well, and it's so that's an emotional tug because it's his old friend, but he has to find a way to get through to him against beyond the programming. And the programming, because Winter Soldier's seen his old friend, even though he doesn't recognise him, there's something in his subconscious is coming up again. So you'll get those two figures, that story mixed with the conspiracy movie. And it just works. I mean, the whole thing just works. I mean, you can work out certain things in advance as you're watching it, but it doesn't matter because it's so well done. The action scenes are much more realistic than normal Marvel movies. They're much more thrilling. They're hand to hand. They just deliver. Because they're always moving forward. They're just so they've delivered one gag, they move on from that straight away. So there's like 3 bits of action right together at all times, so that as the characters are reacting for one thing, so when I was just coming at them, there's always a sense there's like a plan B, a plan C for the villains at all time. So they never have an easy escape. Like every action scene's like difficult to deal with because the villains are so well. There's so many villains, there's lots of weapons, and they've planned ahead. There's always another plan for the villains, so that really works. And the fact that the heroes fail every so often, like they make mistakes, they get caught, all that stuff. It really is one of those films where they make it very difficult for the heroes of the film to actually survive. And that's what's great about it as well. I mean, the action's so close to home at all times. So even though the lead character has superpowers, he's very strong, very fast, he's still not invincible, and they put enough at him that they make it very difficult for him. So it still feels a fair fight. He still has to struggle to survive through the fight. The Black Widow has to use her skills to survive because she doesn't have superpowers, and because she's always beside Steve, it suddenly gives you a person who could get injured badly in any situation. So that really works. Even though she's very capable, it's still someone who is up against Winter Soldier, who's a superhuman human as well. So it's always those little details always make it very interesting to watch. So that really works. The escalation works. The sense that they're up against something that they had no idea was going on, they've been sideswiped, and they have to deal with this thing very quickly. Because I mean, the whole film takes place over 4 or 5 days. I mean, they get an inkling something's wrong, and they eventually have to deal with it very fast because the villains have kept it so close to their chest that they're not acting like villains who are revealing their plan every 2 minutes. They're keeping it to themselves, you know. And it's only because the Captain America character pushes through and keeps fighting that other people get wind of what's going on, and some people fight for them at the end. So it just delivers because it is a thriller that just keeps escalating, and it also adds tension at every point. It's still a sense of humour. The lead characters are always human. They've always got human reactions to things. They don't think they're brilliant or anything. They think they're damaged people dealing in a bad situation. That's what really works. Yes, not about them being damaged. Basically, the characters of Captain America and Black Widow are both characters who are, in this film, the human aspect of the film is basically their kind of struggles throughout the movie, both with the plot and with the situation in the world. Steve Rogers' character is still trying to fit in. He's not like really awkward. He's still trying to catch up and stuff. He sees a lot of things he doesn't like. He's a very forward mentality, but he's not like an old man. He's not like going, oh, these kids or something. He's just sort of quietly struggling, and he's trying to readjust the world, and then realising the world isn't really right anyway, and try to work through that. He stays a simple character in some ways because he's got this very focused morality, but watching him sort of adjust to the world and adjust to who's doing what actually makes the character very interesting, because he's always struggling every scene to make sense of what's going on and how is this moved out of what he expected. So it really works because he's always playing something subtle. He's always dealing with things even though he didn't really expect to be doing this. So he's a simple character dealing with these extreme situations. So the situations versus him always create a interesting element. Plus dealing with Bucky and the Winter Soldier and this blast from the past that he's still attached to his past in lots of ways that he can't quite move on from. Even though he's been forced to move on, he's not quite that guy anymore that he was, but he's still got the ties to that, and he's trying to work out who he actually is in the new world. There's a chance to really see him adjust to the world and adjust to his situation. So that really works because it's a human story that everyone can relate to. So even though this plot stuff's happening and it's all terrific, that's the central story you're following. Also, the Black Widow is dealing with the fact she's a spy and she's doing all these things, but she's doing all these things that might be considered dodgy because she's a spy trying information, and she has to manipulate people at times. But dealing with Steve, his morality actually softens in lots of ways, and she's the one person that sticks by him because she knows he's right. And even though a character can adjust to situations, when it becomes obvious Hydra is involved or obvious something's wrong, that there's a conspiracy going on, she sticks with him straight away. And that really works because you see a character becoming more human throughout the story, and she actually seems to be working towards moving on from what she was designed to be, which is an assassin, to be something else. So that really works as well because they get someone Scarlett Johansson playing this character who's a really good actress, so you get a lot more humanity rather than doing the simple romance. They're friends. They set them up as friends, and that's what really works. The Falcon's a great introduction as well because the Falcon's a pal of Steve's who meets early on in the film and becomes a great friend to him, but he's also a really funny character that livens the film up when it needs. When it's going into the third act, when there's lots of stuff going on, he's a character who keeps it very light so that you're always moving forward but not feeling there's a drudge going on or anything. So the interaction between those three people, the simple fact of these three people trying to actually solve this horrendous problem, keeps the film very human. And that's what the filmmakers focus on. The Russo brothers who directed this came from TV. They did two of the best TV shows, two of the best TV comedies in the last 10 years, which was Arrested Development and Community. So they've got very good chops for genre, for character, for comedy. And it really works in this film because it's all about these character interactions ultimately. That people have betrayed other people, people who feel betrayed. So they actually stick that as the centre. So all this plot I've described going on, but that's the main focus is these characters and how they react to it. That's what it should be in these films. Because a lot of the plotting in any kind of fantastical film is going to be open to be called, you know, silly. But because the characters are so focused, and that's the actual main line of the film, but how they react to everything, it keeps it human and it keeps it from being silly. They keep Steve out of the Captain America costume unless there's a reason, usually. So that's what works as well, because he's not in the costume all the time. The costume's toned down from what it was before as well. So they only bring him into the costume when they need him in the costume. So that really works too, so it delivers. So if it was around this American flag the whole movie, it would have been absurd. So they keep it for when they need it for making a point. So that works as well. This whole movie just works. I mean, it delivers, because as I've said, there's a great plot, there's great character stuff, it doesn't go into enough depth so you feel you're getting dragged down, and it just lets you go with the film. And you can interpret what you want in the film. Is it about privacy? Is it about what does the government do with your information? There's all this stuff going on with it, but it's still ultimately a thriller, which is what's best in movies. Is there is a subtext, but it's not the whole thing, so you can take what you want from it, and that's what you need in a mainstream popular film. It's not an art house film, it's a mainstream film, so it really works on that level. Anyway, that was my take on Captain America Winter Soldier. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.